Alright guys, welcome back. In this segment we are going to be dealing with the periodic table. It's one of my favorite things to do in chemistry, dealing with this periodic table. And so if you've already got these notes, fantastic, you're ready to rock. If you don't have these notes and you need a copy, make sure you hit me in the direct message so I can send you a copy, and then we can go ahead and hit the ground running. If you've already got these notes copied, then you've already read this, and so I'm going to change this essential question around. It does talk about using the periodic table, which is going to be great, to determine principal and magnetic quantum numbers. Now, who knows what in the world that means? Excuse me. And so what I really want to do in my objective is to help you see past complex wording and find simple definitions, because the truth of the matter is, to understand the periodic table is really quite simple. And hopefully you'll be able to see that in just a minute. This paragraph, I'm going to leave it to you to annotate this, find out what you find is important, add a few splashes of color. This is a very basic introduction. I'm actually going to do a whole thing on the periodic table in a future lesson. So I just wanted to give you a little basic idea of the power of the periodic table and why it can be so useful in your chemistry class. But to be honest with you, the best way to really get you to understand how to use the periodic table effectively is to just use the periodic table. And so again, we're not going to spend too much time talking about theory. I think it's best that we just jump right in and get started. So with that said, what do you need? So you have this page of notes. We're going to start with this. Then you have the practice problems on the back. Thompson's going to take you through most of the top portions, and then your job will be to do the bottom portion. And then this is what you're going to turn in for me. Take a picture of this page and then submit this into your classroom. And then finally, a periodic table. Now, if you have your own periodic table, electronic version or whatever, that's totally fine. Excuse me. If you want to use Thompson's, I like my version because it's super simple, it's super clean, it's good for practicing, making annotations and finding things. So if you want, you can certainly download this. If you don't have a copy of it yet, again, request it in the direct message and I will get it to you. Feel free to put it in the chat below as well. All right. Now, like I said, the periodic table is easy if you let it be easy, but it can also be overwhelming. I mean, there's 118 different elements on this thing. They all have different numbers, different masses, different symbols. It's easy to get overwhelmed. So what I want to do is to help break this thing down in a way that is way easy to understand. And it starts with this. You can understand the periodic table if you can count to 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's really that simple. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Here in this version of the periodic table, and hopefully by now you've drawn a periodic table at least 2 or 3 times in previous segments. So in this case, what I'd like you to do is to start with these numbers. Here in this corner, if you would put a number 1. In this, please put a number 2 right here in this corner. Here, please put a number 3, and down here in this bottom section, number 4. So the first thing that I want you to do is to be able to find elements on the periodic table and to associate them with both a number and a letter. So the first thing that we want to do is just practice working the letters, okay? And so if you have your periodic table, Thompson's going to take his periodic table, but I'm going to put it over here to the side. If you need to switch screens or whatever works for you in order to get access to the periodic table, that's fine. The other thing that we're going to do is start looking at some of these elements and just finding the elements, finding out where they are on the periodic table, and starting to identify both the principal quantum number and the magnetic quantum number. Okay. The next thing before we really get into the elements would be the letters, okay? I want you to imagine this as the magical apartment complex for the elements, okay? And each of these towers, or what Thompson calls blocks, each of these blocks will have its own letter. And for this tall block here, which starts on the first floor, the name of this block is S. This block here, which starts on the second floor, the name of this block is P. This long block, it's got 10 across, okay? This one also starts on the 3rd floor, and we call this block D. And I can be willing to bet that you can already predict what you're going to notice down here. First of all, what floor does this start on? The 4th floor. And what is the name of this block? F. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, put this to the side. 1S, 2P, 3D, 4F. Let me go ahead and try to make sense of this by jumping in and looking at the elements, okay? So here we are on the elements page, and what I want to do is just get started. And my hope and expectation is that you'll see the pattern, and that pattern will help you answer for any question, any element on the periodic table. Okay, so the first thing I actually want to do is just start by identifying the name of the block. Okay, so if you would take a moment, find lithium and tell me what block it is on. And so that's the part that's going to take some time. All you have to really do is to get familiar with the periodic table. So you're going to have to just search around. But here is the first element, lithium, and because it's in this tall tower, what would we call this block? This is the S block. Okay, just put an S right there. Super simple. Next one is calcium, Ca. Okay, so calcium, once again, you just have to find it. When you find it, you'll identify that calcium is here, also in, what's the name of this block? S. All right, next is C for carbon. Carbon is, you just have to search and find for it. There's a bunch of C somethings, but the only one that is plain C is over here. And what is the name of this block is the question. The name of this block is P. And then Br. Br is also somewhere on this periodic table. You just have to scan, and then you will find Br right here. Br is also in the P block. All right. Now listen, that's it, guys. This is super simple. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the rest of these, and then it will be up to you to check your own answers. And so what I'm going to recommend that you do is pause this video right here, because in a moment all of these answers will be revealed. And so what I would like you to do is go ahead and practice these next I will give out answers for the next 2 columns, and then maybe we'll come back around and do a final one for this. Okay, the other thing I want you to notice how I put the letter like with a little bit of space on either side. Okay, I didn't put it all pushed up against the symbol for the element, because there's going to be another step that we're going to work. Okay, but for now, go ahead and pause this. Thompson's going to reveal the answers in 3, 2, 1. If you have any problems with this part, finding the element on the periodic table and then figuring out which letter it goes to, it's important that you contact me as quickly as possible. If you're good with that, then I'm going to move on to the next layer of complexity, which deals with what floor the element is on. So if this is the magical apartment complex, we've already identified what tower or what block the element would be in. Now what we need to do is identify what floor it is on to help us identify the exact location of the element. And so when we talk back to lithium, now here's where the practice comes in. Remember in our notes here, the S tower started on floor number 1. Excuse me. So what that means is, as you're making your way down the towers, you're crossing over each floor. So this hydrogen is on the 1S. Lithium, since you're going down to the 2nd floor, this lithium is in 2S. So lithium here, you would put 2S. Now remember, the S tower starts on the 1st floor. So when I go down to calcium, which is here, that means I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4S. Okay, I'm on the 4th floor of the S tower. I hope that makes sense. This is 4S. Okay. Now over here for carbon. Carbon, you'll remember from our notes, that the P block starts on the second floor. So when I talk about carbon here, carbon is on the P block, and since carbon starts on the second floor, we would say that carbon is on 2P. Okay, and then Br, bromine. Bromine, we already established this in the P block. The question is, what floor is it on? Remember, it starts on the second floor. So this is 2, 3, 4. So bromine is on 4P. Okay, now remember your counts. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then for the F block, this one starts on the fourth floor. 4, anything here would be 4F, and anything in this row would be 5F. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to give you guys a chance to answer these questions on your own, and then once again I will reveal the answers. If you run into any problems, go ahead and try to pause, take a look at the answers, and then try again. So I'm going to give the answers to this set. If you haven't done so, go ahead and pause it, practice on your own, and then you'll see the answers in 3, 2, 1. All right, so potassium is 1, 2, 3, 4S. Vanadium here is in the D block. What floor does the D block start on? It starts on the third floor. So vanadium is 3D. SN is over here in the P block. It's found here. You just have to remember what floor does the P block start at. It starts on the second floor. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5. So SN is 5P. And then FR, francium, is down here, and francium starts on the first floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7S. 7S. All right, guys, so here are the answers to the second column. I'm going to recommend that you pause at this time if you haven't already answered these before I reveal the answers to these. Once again, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, well, here we go. I hope that you guys have found great success with our objectives. And what I want to do at this point is take a step back and look at our notes and how we have accomplished our objectives. So here, when we talk about the periodic table, what we will notice is this. Number one, it's not as hard once you divide it up into blocks and then set each block up on its own floor. Second, what we have done is been doing the principal and magnetic quantum numbers the whole time. Okay, so here's a little caveat note that I would like you to put. Let's put, how about a little light bulb right here? That means a circle with a little neck, and then a couple little things, and a little light here. And here what we want to say is principal quantum number is the energy level and the magnetic quantum number is the orbital 2p. This is the principal quantum number, and this is the magnetic quantum number. So this is what you guys have been doing. So here, the principal quantum number is the number. The magnetic quantum number is the letter. The principal quantum number tells us what energy level we're on, and the magnetic quantum number tells us what orbital that electron is spinning in. Okay, and so that's basically what we are doing here, is using the periodic table to determine principle, that's the energy level or the number, the first number, and the magnetic, that is the block or this orbital that it is found in. Okay. The other thing is, notice that the periodic table is sort of like driving a car. You don't have to know all the mathematics behind quantum mechanics in order to be able to do quantum mechanics successfully, because the quantum mechanics is not math like solve for X. It's more math like find the pattern. Okay. All right, guys. Peace.